third meeting we've had on this topic, and that is the future of Lawrence Township schools. And I think everyone in the room, as I look around, see a lot of familiar faces, some I don't know, but I think you're here because we all have a vested interest in Lawrence Township as a community-wide, and most importantly, our students. Let me take just a second and introduce some leadership that we have here in the room. I want to certainly recognize them for being with us. First and foremost, I see one of my school board members. The school board members, we may have all five of them, they may join us. Mr. Freedy, raise your hand just real quick so people know who you are. Dick Freedy, who's our vice president of our school board, he is here in the audience. And then I have with me on the stage some very important people who are going to help us present. I'm going to start off with Mr. Michael Shreves, who is our CFO for the corporation. Roger Smith, everyone knows Roger, he's chief of operations. And then, of course, the stars that we have are two high school principals, Mr. Krauser, representing the Wildcats, and home here, the Bears, Mr. Franklin Bush. Quickly, can I have my elementary and early learning center person raise your hand? Just stand up and wave at them. They're here also. We got them in the audience. But most importantly, I've got my two assistant superintendents. They're going to be in the back of the room, Dr. Steve Gagline and Dr. Kathy Reiki. They're going to help us in just a few minutes with Dr. Dana Altmeyer, who's our director of communication, because we're going to create a system where you can ask questions. And so, as throughout the presentation, you'll see cards being passed around. That will give you an opportunity to write down your questions. So how we're going to do this is we're going to present and share some important information, and then we're going to answer questions that you may have. And if you don't have a question right away, please feel free to hang after, because I think the information you're going to hear is going to be very exciting and very important to you, where you may have some questions. So let's start the evening. You ready, David? Let's talk about Lawrence Township schools. Let me give a little bit of history for myself. I've been in accounting for about 30 years as an educator, and I've worked in the school corporation. I'm in my 5th year as your superintendent. And I'm going to give you the perception of Lawrence Township from others. Always the top. People always have the greatest respect for Lawrence Township schools. And a lot of it has to do with your history and the things you've done over the years. You're sitting down in a beautiful renovated facility here at Lawrence Central High School. So when you say Lawrence Township schools, immediately people can connect with it. And so what we're talking about today is our children. So our mission statement, as you can read there, we are certainly about educating the youngsters that we have, and we want to get those young people on to graduation. Go ahead, Dave. So let me talk a little bit about what's happened over the last 5 years in your community. For those of you that don't have kids in school, we have seen an uptick of student enrollment. That's a fact. Over the last 5 years, we've seen a growth of 1,200 students into our school community, okay? That's a direct reflection of the perception of our school district. Keep going. You know our facilities. You know that we have the 21 buildings. Much has not changed. And the district has over 16,000 students. That also includes our kids that are in our early learning centers also. Keep your hope on, Dave. You went fast. They want to know the value of their district. We still have a very high assessed value. Mr. Shreve's going to point that out in a few minutes, why that's important to the conversation we're going to have here. And we have over 2,500 employees in our district. 1,000 of those individuals are classroom teachers. 1,000 are classroom teachers. Now you can go down. So we want to brag on ourselves. 5 years ago, our graduation rate was 87.9. Ladies and gentlemen, don't apologize. We were, where were we? Where is it? Yeah, 87.9. And now we are now at 92.7. So almost a 5% increase in our overall graduation rate for the community. That is huge. As you can see, where the state graduation rate compares to ours. So you are graduating, Lawrence Township, a large number of students. Now, who are those people going to be? That's our future folks. Those are the future workers, the future citizens that will live in our community and live in our state. So we're certainly adding to that. All right, your locally elected board. Put a picture up there so you'll know who those folks that you have elected to oversee your school corporation. Very important individuals. Mr. McGregor, I see you sitting back there. Raise your hand, Mr. McGregor. He is president of your school board, okay? And so he has joined us also. All right, so let's talk about our Blue Ribbon Facility Plan. 5 years ago, when I became superintendent, I had a conversation with Mr. Smith and the Board of Education. I asked Mr. Roger Smith, do we have a facility plan? And if anyone knows Roger Smith, he is the most positive individual you will ever meet. He did what he always does. He smiled at me and said, no. Right, Roger? Because as I went through and assessed our facilities, I asked Roger a lot of questions. I had a lot of concerns about our facilities. And so we put a task force together, commissioned by me, of 90 plus people who went around and helped us decide on what we needed to do to upgrade our facilities as a community. Now, you have some buildings that are original equipment that have been around for 30. One building we're going to talk about in a second, it is really original equipment, Lawrence North High School. And we said we've got some facility issues that we need to upgrade. So we put in place our Blue Ribbon facility plan. And I want Mr. Smith to come forward and share with the community what we've been able to do. Because in that plan, we had to prioritize our needs. And we had some great needs that Mr. Smith and his team was able to address.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Yes, the last 5 years we have been working on a plan, and those dollars and cents that we've been working on will take us all the way through 2023. And those dollars right now actually is no impact to our taxpayers. So those dollars we're doing right now, and I'm going to share with you where we've been, where we're at today, and where we're going to be going with that Blue Ribbon plan. What we've done up to this point, we started off with Crestview Elementary, full renovation and a new gymnasium, and it took us 3 years to get that project done. But then in 2017, we really kicked off the Blue Ribbon plan with Mary Castle Elementary, full renovation, some additions of classrooms there, McKenzie Career Center, new cosmetology and coronary culinary programs. I'll get it right. But anyway, we expanded those two programs and increased the square footage there. And Lawrence Central and Lawrence North multi-purpose facilities, end zone buildings, the new stadiums, all in 2017. 2018, we're just finishing up some projects there. 3 elementaries, Skiles Test Elementary, again a full renovation, new kitchen, new cafeteria, new gymnasium. Indiana Creek, a new front facade, new kitchen, new cafeteria, all new renovation throughout the building. And then Harrison Hill as well, we increased 3 classrooms, community room, and a full renovation. You'll see here Lawrence Central Auditorium, brand new renovation, and utilizing that here tonight, as well as Lawrence North's auditorium last week. And we're finishing up the LC and LN softball stadium as we speak, and ready to kick off that season with them. Currently underway for the 2019, we have Amy Beverland Elementary full renovation. We're adding 4 new classrooms onto that, new front facade, and also in all these renovations, safety and security is a priority as we continue to protect our students and staff as we redesign these buildings. Sunnyside, again, 3 new classrooms, getting rid of those portable units that are sitting out there right now. So over the next 18 months, we'll be able to do that and bring all those kids back inside into the building. Also working on a new transportation facility. We've outgrown the one we're at. We're landlocked, and we need to expand that facility. And we'll be working on that later this year. And right now we're working on a multi-purpose athletic facility, education, performing arts. Actually, we're redoing the turf on the fields and the track. And believe it or not, our performing arts actually uses it more than football. So it truly is a multi-purpose facility, and we want to continue to improve those and keep those going. Those are natural progression. Actually, they're over 11 years old, so it is time to replace those, and we'll be doing that this year.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. All right. Wow, look at my pictures there. I have a prop for you. Have anyone in the room remember those pictures? It's okay. Got a few of you may not have been born, but we'll use that as a marker. 50 years ago. How many people remember those phones? Those hands up. Most of you do. Some of our kids will look at that and say, what is that, Mom and Dad? All right, we love that car, Dad. But look at the price of things. All right? I still can't figure out the coffee. Why has coffee prices haven't changed? Someone can tell me that. Huh? How about the average income? How much a home costs today? Okay? So here we go, folks. We want to make sure that you understand that the people on this stage and the people that are elected to run your school board fully understand the costs and how things have changed. So we're not going to stand on the stage and sell you anything that we don't need. Okay? Our school facilities that we're going to talk about in just a second are in great need. But we understand how things have increased over the years. And so we're certainly going to be very conscientious about that. Okay? All right. Let's talk about our history. Mr. Bush, come up here. The year was 1963. And right here on 56th Street, a community decided to build a new high school. Does anyone know where the previous high school was? It was across the street. I saw some people pointing. It was right across the street. And so they moved into this state-of-the-art new facility here at Lawrence Central High School. Talk about it and tell us what we can expect.
Good evening. I'm Franklin Bush, the proud principal of Lawrence Central High School. So thank you guys for being here this evening. Again, you see the picture of Lawrence Central where it currently sits, where it used to sit across the street at Bellsman. From 1963. So we'll flip to our next picture, and we got a 10-year gap, which is kind of an overview of what our building would look like. All right. And so this is still Lawrence Central. We flip to our next picture. Our last major renovation at Lawrence Central High School was in 1993, 26 years ago. I believe at that point I was a freshman in high school, and it's the last time we had our last major renovation. But if you go back into the picture, in 1963, we flip to our next picture, Dana. That's still the original equipment in our current building right now. And so, as much as I love wearing my suits, and Dr. Smith expects me to wear them, sometimes controlling the climate of our building is a little hard. And so when I bring that up, we get into the world of our students. We get into the world of learning. And making sure that we're providing an adequate learning environment for our students. Not only for our students, but for our educators who are coming every day and teaching. We do have a large building, and great to have it. But we are still operating off of our original HVAC and electrical equipment from 1963. We look at some of our pictures from our student athletes where they compete and they perform. You can see it is in need of major upgrade. So we've done a great job of updating a few facilities: auditorium, our multi-purpose athletic and performing arts facility. But a lot of our other facilities look like this. And I tell you one thing about Lawrence Central, and Mr. Krause will tell you about Lawrence North. There's a lot of pride and legacy around our school district, but around our high schools. And so there is sometimes when we host events, or when I host a shadow families, there are areas of our building where I want to say, this is coming because our kids deserve it. Their kids deserve it as well. These are pictures of our performing arts. If you know anything about our performing arts, and I brag on them, I absolutely love them. They're one of the absolute tops in the state. Okay, tops in the state. So you may say, we can patch that wall and we can paint it, but the bigger issue is what's behind the wall that continues to cost us. Okay, so we have to get to the root of the problem, because we have outstanding students, outstanding parents who come in and put all their time and energy into our facilities. But right now, just being completely honest with you, we're not providing the best, most current 21st century atmosphere for them. We look into our science classrooms, and I know Mr. Krause will get into that a little bit, the academic spaces. Our science labs are outdated. outdated. Our current structure in our science labs are what they've been for the past 26 years. And so we look at what the job force is looking at and the opportunities for labs and what our students have access to. I tell you, we do a really good job in both high schools of making the best of absolutely what we have. We do, but it is time for an upgrade so that we can modernize what our students have access to. Again, looking at performing arts, this is the current state of our performing arts. If I took you on a tour right now, this is exactly what you would see. Our show choir finished 7th in the state. Our band makes state finals every year. So we are producing high quality student athletes and performing arts athletes, and we don't have adequate facilities for them every day. Again, we are very thankful and blessed with what we have, but it is time for us to become a little bit more competitive and upgrade our facilities as times have definitely changed. And before I get into Lawrence North, I'll say this one piece. We 2 high schools, but we operate as one. And so Mr. Krauser and I share students. And so both of our students benefit from our facilities. And so we think of it as how our community benefits for our facilities. So our high schools never shut down. I know Brent will talk about that a little bit right now, but our high schools never shut down. So it's very important for us as we look at driving down 56th Street and driving down Hague Road, what we want our high schools to look like and to represent. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bush. They are competitive, don't forget that. They do. Ladies and gentlemen, quick fact. I always got a fun fact for you. 2 high schools, we have over 5,000 students between our 2 high schools. So if we were to compare ourselves to Carmel or Ben Davis, very similar in size. They have 1 high school. We're fortunate enough to have 2 beautiful facilities for our students, and that's a great advantage. Size makes a difference. And so these 2 gentlemen know their students. There's no doubt about it. And so, Mr. Krauser, let's talk about the Wildcats. The year was 1976 when it opened, and people out there said, why is Lawrence Township building a second high school? As a matter of fact, they said that on into the 80s. And then by the 90s, they quit talking. We have students, okay? Because we certainly couldn't put them all at Lawrence Central High School. So, Mr. Krauser, let's talk about the newest of our 2 high schools.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Exactly that. We have 2 great high schools, and I will continue to say that. Very proud of our high schools and very proud of the students that we serve and the community that we serve. But if you drove down Hague Road today, you saw that picture. We have not had a major renovation at Lawrence North High School. And so what you will find is what is behind those walls right there is original. So literally, as I said in the last meeting we had, you could go to the corner over there on the last slide and take a picture, and that Lawrence North High School still sits there. The tree's just grown a little bit taller around it to cut that down. But this is original. And so, those of you who know what a chiller is, so our building operates off a chiller. Yes, it still has to make ice. And so the students always wonder, why is it getting so warm in here, Mr. Krauser, as the weather gets nicer outside and we get warmer inside? Well, I'm very hopeful that we made a bunch of ice the night before. Because if we didn't, we're going to be warm. And literally, I can go from one classroom to the next side by side, and it'd be 85 degrees in one classroom, and then 65, and students are wanting to wear sweatshirts and hoods and things like that in the next. That's a reality. And so a couple students can shake their head at that. I will tell you, you are welcome to walk those hallways each and every day. And that does become frustrating because exactly what Mr. Bush talked about, we are into providing an environment that is conducive to learning. And a student needs to have that environment to be able to do all the other things we want them to do and be collaborative and get out and do as they're in the classroom. And so we want to make sure we're providing that atmosphere. But yes, that's original. So we can walk down there and take that picture today as we've been. So we can go to the next. Roofs. Didn't learn too much about the situation until we started dealing with rain. And so, as a day like today, it poured. And so what I do, I get to walk around our second floor, walk by our science labs, and make sure that it's not raining inside. Because with our roof, and even with the improvements that we've tried to make, we will still get that. And in the winter, obviously, with ice and freezing and different situations, we're dealing with some issues. And so most of you will understand this setting when you haven't had major improvements. So again, our roof needs major repair. Area outside of where our old pool used to be, our weight room, but this is an area by our dock, that left-hand picture to you. Just original equipment that needs upgrade. A couple of things. Yes, our parking lot, and we can show you a lot of those different pictures, and those are much like the roads in Marion County that we're still working on, and we do. And I don't want to come off that improvements aren't made daily. We have amazing maintenance staff. We have amazing people that come in and patch things and do things and make it right. Because I am very proud when I pull into 7802 Hague Road each and every day. I am proud of the building. I'm proud of the students. I'm proud of the facility. But we always know we can make it better. We also are in a competitive market. And so as people shop, they're going to look at the exterior of your home first. And as they drive by, maybe they'll stop. Maybe they won't. And as of today, we have 21 kids coming into Shadow on becoming a Wildcat for the day. Very proud of that. Very proud to walk their families through our building. But I also have to say, I'm not going to hide anything from you. These are some improvements we need to make. And so you can see as you come in. Our door one thing you'll see in the next picture as you look at that area. There you go. So Lawrence North High School was one of the first to put in security doors. When we did it, we put them beyond the main office. Again, we are dealing with safety and security, keeping the bad guy out of our schools. Did it several years ago. The issue is now when you go to most of our elementaries, our middle schools, and Lawrence Central, you will have to be buzzed in from an exterior door to get in. Those of you coming to Lawrence North, you can walk right in. So what you're seeing here is a picture beyond the main office that we've stopped using those main doors. And so every student goes through the main office that comes in door one to go through, again, just for safety and security. We're going to make the adjustments to keep our kids safe. With improvements, those doors will move back to where the foyer is there, and that way you are buzzed in if you come into door one. And that is just a model we see at many schools. And so you can see that with our front area. Again, a beautiful building. Our custodial staff keeps that looking beautiful for our students and our parents. Go ahead. This picture, this is my favorite. Okay? So, Dr. Altemeyer sent the PowerPoint to us, and I saw the picture, and I thought, how do I capture our labs and our science classrooms? So I thought, I was thumbing through the 1977 yearbook. And so the picture on your left is the 1977 yearbook. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go up to Mr. Tankersley's chemistry class, the exact classroom. And I'm going to take this picture again. The only change in there outside of some safety equipment along the walls is the sharp panel in the front. Everything else is original. Now I say that in that those students are receiving great education in that chemistry classroom. The facility doesn't change that, but I want to prepare my students in a chemistry classroom, in a chemistry setting, that what it looks like at Roche, at other areas. And we can do that. We can create the spaces that our kids will need. Now, our kids, when I use those examples, that's where our students are going to intern. That's where they're going their senior year to do different things. And so putting them in the space to do that will help us. This is still a collaborative atmosphere. That lab table still exists right there. Everything he is doing is great in 77, is great in 2019. So I want to say that exactly as Mr. Bush said, great teachers teaching great kids in an environment that needs to be improved. If that makes any sense. And we can do that. So if we advance that. Space. Usable space. This is our commons area. Looks wonderful to all of us as we walk through when students aren't there. The thing I say is that space can be used in collaborative ways, in different ways today. And we've got to be able to make that space usable space. So it sits like that throughout the day. And that becomes a makeshift senior cafeteria from 1207 to 207. That we just roll out old Fall Creek Valley tables and chairs and let our seniors sit in a different environment. So we make it work. But it's just one of those things, we can improve it, and we need to improve it. And so, as I close here, I'll say it again. Great teachers teaching great kids. A lot of great things happening at Lawrence Central, Lawrence North, and McKenzie. 3 high schools that operate as one throughout the school day. And we want just to create an environment for our kids that is relevant and looks like what they are going to enter, not what we went to back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. We need to create an environment for them today. So, thank you.
I love our principals' compassion. And the high schools, I have to say, they're big, 550,000 square feet, each of those buildings. The elementaries, I have to share, they're just as passionate. At 80,000 square feet, they're just smaller. And what I'm going to do is show you some things similar to what we saw in the high schools, we're going to see in our elementaries as well. Go ahead and next one. Oak Landon, 1974, 77, original. That's original classroom. That's original gym. Go on. Again, Forest Glen, aging, that's 25, 27 years old, and of course Brook Park on the right. Again, the outside, we're looking at the facade of the building, roof, sides, parking lot, same deal. As we move through our buildings, we're looking at, most of our buildings are 25 plus years old. We've got a couple of them out there in 2004, 2007, our early learning centers. They're pushing 12 years now. You're going to see some upgrades. We want to get them before we go this far. So this will keep them in line as well. Most HVAC, you've heard, original equipment, likewise. Safety and security has been, is, and will be a priority in this district. So as we make those improvements, we're going to make sure that they are safe and secure. Multiple entrance. Most of our elementaries have one way in, one way out. And we try to separate our buses and the parent drop-off, and again, for safety and efficiency. Update all classrooms for current and future. You've heard that from the principals. We want to create that environment for them through these renovations. Flexible learning space, not only for today, but also in the future. Well, what does this mean? Potential solutions. You've seen the signs in our community, great schools, great community, or great city. We firmly believe that our schools are a great asset for our community, and we want to continue with that. It has been, it will be, and we want to make sure that they continue. So these upgrades are vital for our community as well as our children and our students. Upgrade facilities to serve the needs of our students today and in the future. Safety again, and create a place of destination. You heard that we've increased over the last 5 years, and we're going to continue to do that. And these new and improved schools will help us do that.
All right, thank you, team. Thank you. All right, so the question I have for you folks is, are we going to support our local public schools? The local public schools serve on behalf of the citizens and people that live in the community. And Lawrence Township, I gave you a compliment years ago, been here for many decades, made a statement. You had great schools, great facilities, and thousands of people moved into your community and brought their children to your schools. Well, guess what, folks? They're still here. And projected to continue to be in your community as this community has done things to make it affordable and attractive for people to live. So our schools are the foundation of that. All right, so the future is what these gentlemen talked about. We know Lawrence Central, Lawrence North, our 4 elementaries there, and our early learning centers are critical to that next phase of renovations that we need to make happen. All right, so Roger Smith, we got up here. I'm gonna let you come back up. You got some potential looks, and you brought a bunch of friends with you because we can't talk to our public about how bad it is unless we talk about what's possible. And so we have a team that's visionary, that's working to put something together that hopefully our community will accept. What could it look like in the future?
This is the fun part, I feel, is working with the buildings and working with great teams. We have some architects and engineers, construction management people. We can't do this ourselves. We have to have a team. Just raise your hand here, that group that's helping us right now. Put the what ifs together. And here what I'm going to show you are some drafts that we've been working with the buildings on what each of these buildings could become. But the high schools you're going to see, and you have heard that our high schools are twins, you're going to see some similarities as we show you some new that would be added on, some old that would be taken away, both inside and outside of each of our facilities, not only our high schools, but also our elementaries and ELCs. Go ahead and run through these. A new 3-story educational wing on the front, both on 56 and on Hague Road. Again, we're going in and touching every inch of these buildings, except for the white. Those are the new auditoriums. Those are brand new, but the rest of the building will be touching. And of course the site, this is LC. One thing I want to talk about here on the site, parking. Most of you know that LC is limited on parking. After we do all of this, both buildings would have just shy of 1,200 parking spaces on each side. Huge improvement. Again, a new front facade, safety and security. Go ahead. Likewise, north, you'll see some similarities, and of course, some new building going up, old building coming down. Go ahead. Site improvements, you'll also see the parking lot. Lawrence North is very large, very scary at times, especially during the daytime. So traffic flow and safety, again, not only from the inside of the building, but also on the site with additional improvements. Brick Park, a new facade, and also going in there, we're recreating some inside. We're actually adding some classrooms as we redesign for the needs of their students. You'll notice the roofs, the white is good, the black is not good. So as we look at the inside and outside, we need to replace those items as well. Oakland, a new facade, again, complete renovation on the inside, and also new front entryway closer to the front, safety and security. The site plan, you'll notice the blue line on the left is a new entry onto that side. We're looking at obtaining a small piece of property by the old lodge there that is now torn down, and we'd like to again separate the bus and the parent traffic. Forest Glen, new facade, again, the inside, redesigning the inside. We're actually creating 2 additional classrooms in this space without going outside the 4 wall. So again, efficiency and also increase in educational space. Site flow, the site plan, again, we're looking at safety and security. Winding Ridge, again, 2004, I believe, that building was built. Again, now we are doing some upgrades on the inside, a new facade on the outside. Again, recreating some space for their curricular needs today, as well as in the future. And we also redid the site work this last summer, so we don't have to include that in this renovation. The learning centers are 2007, 12 years. So again, we're doing some modifications and some kitchen rehab in there, sprucing up the building, and also the outside, the play area is very critical for their certification as well as meeting the needs of their students. So again, ELCs as well.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Smith. All right, someone sitting in the room is saying, Dr. Smith, how much will this cost? How will we pay for this? And we have a plan. And I'm going to bring a gentleman up who's very quiet, but he's good at what he does. He's our CPA. He's our CFO of the school corporation, Mr. Michael Shreves, to talk about how we can go about doing this project and it be fair to our taxpayers and our community. So, Mr. Shreves, you have the mic.
Good evening. Dr. Smith alluded earlier about our assessed valuation and why it's good for us in this project. We have an assessed valuation in our township of over $5 billion. What that does is everything you were seeing up there they're talking about wanting to do to the schools, we can do for 24.99 cents on your tax rate. And you see there's a list of the items we can do. If we go to the next slide, what will that do to our tax rate? Currently, we're the fourth from the right tax rate in Marion County. So we're the fourth lowest tax rate in Marion County. After the renovation, you see we don't change positions. The one thing that's not up there that we don't have data for yet, but Washington Township did their referendum last year. That tax has not hit the books until next year, so when that happens, we'll be the third lowest tax rate in Marion County. Now, the other question you probably have is, what does it cost me personally? That's what my first question would be. So the next slide here shows, based on the various values of the homes, what the impact would be on your tax rate. The median price in Lawrence Township is $153,600. You can see that's $14 a month. And then it goes based on house value. But we feel by doing the 24.99 cents, we're getting a very good value for you and for our students.
Right. So, Mr. Shreves, our assessed values, I believe, 7th highest in the state of Indiana. Number one, obviously, is going to be Indianapolis Public Schools because they're larger, you guys know, and that's a city there, but you have a very high assessed value community. And that is a byproduct of the home values, but also a variety of different type of things in our community, which allows for us to have a lot of stability with our tax rates. We're very fortunate that our tax rates haven't changed. We've been very fortunate with that. But this investment will certainly keep those tax rates and keep your home values and your community strong, not only for today, but for many, many years. Daniel, let's take off. All right, so I'm competitive, and I always want to keep my community informed. History. Lawrence Township, we have never done a referendum in the history of our school district. We've never done one. So what have our neighbors done? Let's take a look at the map there. Those are all of our neighbors that are around us. All of them have successfully passed a referendum to invest into their school buildings. So it is about competition. Okay, I will not let North Central outdo us. And we certainly don't want Hamilton South. I'm still recovering from the state championship basketball game. You with me, folks? But we have not had to do that. And we have been very, very prudent with our finances to put us in a great position financially. And you need to hear that, school corporation and community patrons. We're not asking the community right now for an operating referendum where we need more money to operate our day-to-day management. We're talking about investing back in our buildings to keep our schools attractive so we can maintain stability for many, many years. Okay? All right. So quality schools support property values. Just take a second to read that comment there. I mean, it's just a fact. I think everyone in the room would agree with that. We're asking for a small give, and in return, you're going to continue to have excellence in your school community. You have 16,000 students in your school community. We're the 9th largest school corporation in the state of Indiana, out of 293 school districts. And we are a township. We're a city a little bit, but you know, we're not South Bend or Fort Wayne or the Indianapolis Public Schools. We are in a very small area with a lot of people and a lot of young people. Keep going. All right? So it's about your property taxes. Trust that you know that you have great educators, great people in this community who have really looked at this very closely. We have come up with a heck of a plan that we believe put forward to the community will make this community attractive for many, many years. Go ahead, Dana. All right, so here's the ask. We're looking for a $161 million investment in the two high schools. Okay? $30 million investment in our elementaries and our early learning centers. So it's $191 million that we're asking the community to give to us in order for us to reinvest in our school buildings. Okay? And of course, your vote matters. We will have to go out and ask the public for permission to do this. That will take place in fall of 2019 if the Board of Education grants me permission for that to happen. So that's why we want to have the meeting with our community and talk about this first before I ask the Board of Education to move forward with this. If the community says no, we don't feel comfortable, then obviously we would have to go to another plan. But we want our community to feel comfortable that we are doing the right thing on your behalf. All right? Because here's what it's all about, folks. Because that's what we're doing it for. We're doing it for our young people. And of course they matter. And in the end, they're going to impact the world. 1,200 graduates leave our schools. 1,200 graduates. Dr. Gagline's in the back is going to assure me, my two high school principals, I'll shake 1,200 hands in June, and they will go out and impact the community, and then more will come. Okay? And that's the impact that you're having in Lawrence Township on this community. Let me go to the last thing. So the next step. The next step will be, we will have a public hearing with the Board of Education, April the 22nd. And at that public hearing, the community will be able to give us input on the next steps. And then in May, the board will approve whether or not we will move forward to ask the community for permission through a referendum in the November election. Okay? All right, excellent. So what's the next step? We've got time. Is what questions do you have for us? So around the room, we've passed out cards, index cards, and my team's going to come around and collect those very quickly. And then Ms. Altmeyer is going to come forward, and she's going to read those questions, our director, Dr. Altmeyer, our director of communication, and then we're going to have answers for your questions. So if you can hold those cards up for us. Okay. All right. Do I see students in the audience? Yes, I do. Hold those cards up. I love it when I see students. You guys seniors? All right, got a senior. You know you can vote this year. Yes, you can. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, folks. You want to grab that one up, O'Brien? A couple more?
Yep, I'll go ahead and read
Thank
this
you.
first.
Go ahead.
How can we as patrons help?
We'll take all of you. Help us. Yes, we will have to put together a community political action committee because it is an election. And if you are interested in that, just let us know and we will call on you. Because we will have to canvass the entire community to ask to inform our parents and as well as our patrons. And so, yes, we will need your help.
Right. The next one is, of the increase in the number of students, how many are from other districts? And can we expect those numbers to be consistent, increase, or decrease in the future?
That is always an excellent question because one of the things that has happened over, well, matter of fact, it's state law. And I need to mention that to people because I think people think that, well, public schools are just letting people from other districts. We're in a different era of education in the state of Indiana. Public schools are no longer the only show in town. Families have the choice to send their children to charter schools, and also they may receive vouchers to send their kids to private schools. So what has happened is that school corporations, public, throughout, have opened their borders. Now that map that Ms. Altmeyer had up there that showed all the school corporations around us, many of them opened their borders. And what that means is that They will take students in their school corporation from other districts. We do have open borders, but with limits. Let me point that out. We do not open the borders to take in kids and move out kids from Lawrence Township. We also have the challenge of losing over 700 students to charter schools. And 700 families also have taken this choice scholarship, which are the vouchers. So it's a very competitive market. So folks, I don't want you to think of those 16,000 kids, 8,000 of them from other districts. That is not the case. But we are in a very competitive market. Okay? Good question.
Could you share a little bit more about the timeline for the completion of the proposed projects?
Roger Smith, come forward. That's a good question.
On the average, on the elementaries, it takes about 18 months. The high schools are a large building. We're looking at about 3 years. This process will start in 2020, and course of less than 2 years on the elementaries, 3 years on the high schools.
Why don't you just keep the mic? I got another one for you here. Are the proposed renderings subject to change?
Yes, I mentioned earlier, these are drafts. So we're going through and working with the buildings right now as we look at their needs and both inside and outside, so that could be subject to change.
Roger, we can't do the final designs.
Right, until after the referendums, really. So, yes, we can make changes.
And then well, you've got it, one more. We touched on this just a little bit, but if you could remind our audience, where does Amy Beverland fit in this timeline?
Amy Beverland is 2019. I believe I mentioned Sunnyside, transportation, and the two stadiums are 2019 projects. So we're going to start those in June. They're not part of the
Dr. Smith, we need to talk about middle school. We got some questions about how the middle schools fit in this timeline. They're dealing with some capacity issues. Are they impacted at all by this project? And what role, if any, does Craig play in the future for our middle schools?
Sure. Well, we're not going to open Craig back up as a middle school. Let me put that out there. That is not the plan. But our two middle schools are on the docket. As soon as we're finished with the high schools, we will move on and renovate both middle schools. Okay? And that would be in 2023. Is that correct, Michael and Roger? 2023. So we are planning to do renovations on them. Okay?
And as a follow-up to those middle schools, there was also conversation about the addition of 6th grade centers. Is that still something that's being considered?
That, we should have that information out there. We have that plan and we put that on pause. We believe with the renovations of our elementaries that we're going to be okay capacity-wise, but we still have that plan if need be. If we see an influx of students, we may have to bring that back out again. But right now, we're not planning to add the 6th grade centers onto the two middle schools.
As we continue to grow and look at improvements, what are our thoughts on the growth and improvement of city infrastructure? As an example, Mary Castle Elementary, improvements with traffic flow as well as the stoplight. Have there been considerations in working with the city around other improvements as these upgrades are made?
We talk constantly with our municipalities, the city of Lawrence and the city of Indianapolis. You do have to understand that our power only lies on the school property, but it is great to have great relationships with those folks as we do our planning. And I hear a lot of great things happening here in the city of Lawrence. The city of Indianapolis worked very closely with us to allow for us to get a stoplight at Mary Castle. So those families, if they're there on 82nd Street, we do have a stoplight there that helps us out tremendously.
Perhaps you could touch a little bit more on the difference between a capital referendum and an operations referendum. This question was how the money might support beyond facilities improvements and go towards teachers and
Absolutely, and that's where we're really proud of the work that we do. Mr. Trees, come up here. Because one of the things that we're really proud of right now is that we don't have to do an operating referendum. A lot of people don't understand that that's not easy in a time where money is very tight in the state of Indiana. We are a school corporation that's in the black right now. And so what does that mean? What is the difference between the two, Mr. Trees?
Okay, what we're proposing is a capital referendum. It's for buildings. The operating referendum covers your day-to-day operations. The question is, why don't we pursue that as well? Well, the board has a goal of keeping a cash balance of $10 million. So we can stay financially solvent. You say that's a lot of money. Well, that's about 1 month of expenditures for the school corporation. And if you look at the history over the last 5 years, we've given fair raises to the teachers and maintained that $10 million cash balance. Once you enter into an operating referendum, usually you do that when you're not making your ends meet on a day-to-day basis. And that's for 8 years. After 8 years, if you haven't made adjustments in your expenditures, you've got to go back and ask for another operating referendum from your taxpayers.
And that is huge. All of our neighbors that surround us have had to do both. We've been very fortunate that we've not had to do an operating referendum. Two school corporations in Marion County have not had to do an operating referendum, and you're one of them. We wish well to our colleagues over on the west side, as Lawrence Township is in the middle of a referendum, operating referendum. They have a $10 million deficit. They have to win their referendum or they're going to have to close schools. We're not in that position. And so we're really proud of that we've been able to maintain without having to do that. Okay.
This one pertains to Forest Glen Elementary, and there's a question about the future for bus traffic and parent pickup and what that would look like with the proposed renovations.
We do have that, Mr. Smith, you got that there. We'll be working with their principal on that, but they will see some improvements. I will say that. Not only Mr. Smith to say that. I drove by the other day, so that is a priority. Do you hear me, Mr. Lulu? You see me? Yes, he's back there. He's hearing that from his boss parents.
All right, and then this question is actually for our high school principals.
Yes.
And this patron is asking a little bit more about what you see as being the needs for new science labs, for our performing arts upgrades. What would help our students be most competitive in this environment?
And I'll let those guys come, but our entire process of renovating and working to improve our building starts first and foremost with our educators. We bring in the experts because these guys live in the building, the teachers know how they utilize the equipment, so we start with them, and then we bring in our friends, the architects and construction folks to work with us to make sure that we get exactly what's needed for our instruction, for teaching and learning. So it starts with them. So these guys have been in a lot of meetings. We've done some renovations on some beautiful facilities, as you can see this right here. You guys sat in the meeting, so talk with the public about what you do.
And I'll say a few things like Mr. Powers, but I think the appropriate space, I think the appropriate equipment, updated space and equipment. We are making do. I feel like we, as we heard before, we patch things together to make it work. We kind of modernize our own things to make it relevant to what's current. And so definitely looking at our spaces, our equipment, our furniture for our students and our educators is beyond important.
And that's exactly that statement, and also making space multi-purpose. So I'll go directly to the science lab. You want to continue to develop space that you'll be able to evolve into over the years. And so right now, we talk about the technology age of our kids. Well, that's right now. The challenge that Dr. Smith has given to us is we need to start to look at our building for the class of 2030. And so what might it look like for them? And so what you have to start looking at is, how might this space be used in the future? Not just, you've got the furniture, you've got the space, but then it becomes a collaborative atmosphere. We read and talk about employability skills. We need space that puts students into collaborative atmospheres, allow them to move around and work with one another, not in isolation. I will tell you, when I walk into classrooms daily, my only frustration becomes, that's the same classroom that I entered in 1991. And when I say that, it's still the desk in a certain way, teacher in the front, teacher desk, teachers doing many different things with the students, which is great, but then it becomes, how might this look? So if we're creating multi-purpose space, we begin to look at how we can use this in the future. And so simple things with technology, we need to be ready for next. Right now, yes, we have a Chromebook. That's not going to be the case. Students already are doing things this way. The issue is, how can I teach them how to do things this way so that they can sit here on stage and speak with you about these things and collaborate with one another to be employable. We make that space to be able to be optimally used, because our buildings do not shut down. And so on Saturdays, they're used to the SAT. If a group needs to use it from the community, they can come in and use it. They do use it, but it's usable at all hours of the day. And so I hope that answered that question, but it's having furniture and space that can be used 24/7.
2031. I saw my early learners and the principal smiling. They're already here, folks. The students are already in our buildings. And so it won't be long before they will be in these new classrooms.
Dr. Smith, there have been changes as to how our schools are funded
Yes.
in the last years. How has state funding impacted our need to pursue this type of project?
Well, 100% of the reason why we had to go through this project, this process, is state laws have changed, Mr. Shreves, that force us, when we have large capital projects like this, we have to go to the public for a referendum for anything that's over $15 million. So the laws have changed where we have to go ask permission of the community to do large projects like this. In terms of funding for our students, the funding formula that goes into our budget to fund our teacher salaries, that is completely separate. That's a whole different conversation. Whoever had that question, I can talk with you separately, because that is a whole nother conversation that's completely controlled by our state legislature. Okay.
All right. That was it for our questions. We did have 2 positive comments
Yes.
that I'd like to share, and this individual shared that our whole community and neighborhoods would be their best with the passing of this referendum, whether or not you have students in our school district currently. So that was nice. And then, as someone that travels the state, I can say firsthand as a resident and parent that this district is definitely worth the investment.
Thank you. Whoever said that. Very powerful. Thank you. You're sitting in this beautiful auditorium, folks, and to let you in a little story. I sat in an unbelievable play a few years ago, and the kids were doing Shrek. It was wonderful. And all of a sudden, the sound went out. And my heart dropped, because it was a world-class presentation. And if you know Lawrence Central High School's drama, theater for kids, they do an unbelievable job. And it struck me, I had to do something. And we had conversation. We have to do something. So, folks, when you see the spaces that have been renovated in our district, it was because it was an absolute need. It wasn't a fact that someone will say, well, you build a big football stadium. It wasn't because we needed it. Our stadium was so bad that I was afraid someone would fall in it and sue us. Honestly. We didn't have enough restroom facilities to accommodate our teams, our families. It just wasn't a pleasant experience. And folks, let me let you know, we're also very competitive. Yes, Carmel's going to come over here, and North Central, and Davis, and they're all going to come to your community, and we want to beat them. We do. But we want our families, you, the community, to be proud of your facilities. And so as we've done these renovations, one of the things we've noticed is that people are very proud, very thankful for what we've been able to do. We've been able to host some of the top band contests, music contests in our facilities that I think will set us apart from everyone in the state of Indiana and will make us a district of destination. So folks, thank you. We kept with our time, and I'm going to stay. My team is going to be here if you want to come up, if you have any questions. And thank you. We want to thank the folks out there on Facebook Live who are watching us. Please consider our school referendum for Lawrence Township. Thank you very much, folks.